Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
This is the Protect Your Assets podcast.
You get the idea?
It's on the internet.
Make him the cutest that I've ever seen.
Go on.
Give him 2 lips.
It's like no cheese I've ever tasted.
And tell him that his looks
Here's
are
the Sandman.
over, Sandman.
Happy 4th of July weekend. I'm starting to get used to these 4-day work weeks this next week. Well, it'll be about 3.5 for me. Sounds good. You know, this is one of my favorite holidays. I love being with family, seeing the fireworks last night, and firing up my barbecue and enjoying a nice cold beverage as I think about the world. And boy, don't I have a lot to contemplate right now. How about you? Good morning and welcome to Protect Your Assets. I am David Hollander, your host. People around here, they call me the Sandman. That's because I help my listeners sleep well at night by answering their most troubled tax, legal, and financial questions each week. And that's because I do run a tax, legal, and financial services firm. Been doing it for over 30 years. You can always email me a question. Maybe you're wondering what you should be doing right now that tax rates will stay the same for a little bit of time. You can always send me a question. Email me questions at pyaradio.com. Again, questions at pyaradio.com. Well, again, happy 4th of July weekend. As I think about this holiday, I think about how lucky I am to be free to do just about whatever I want to do in this beautiful area. But you know what today or this weekend is also about? Your freedom to actually retire when and how you want to. What do I mean? Just the other day, I was speaking to one of my clients, Mark. You see, we developed a financial plan for him, and it showed how he could spend up to $12,000 a month starting this September. He is spending $7,000 a month right now, and he wants to start traveling with his wife to celebrate all their hard years of work together, raising a family, working. You understand. He wanted to know if he could spend an extra $2,000 a month to travel. So we opened up his plan, and I looked at it, and I said, of course. See this plan right here? You have plenty of room. You could spend, in fact, $5,000 more a month if you wanted to. Let's go ahead and put that in your budget, is what I said. This exercise got me thinking, and yes, it is the 4th of July weekend, and we are celebrating our freedom as Americans. But how great is it that this year, Mark will celebrate another day of freedom from having to work another day in his life if he doesn't want to. And guess what? Mark doesn't want to. So making the decision to retire is exciting. But while this is an exciting time in your life, it can also be very stressful because many people are still haunted by that question that anyone retiring today asks themselves time and time again. And that question is, have I saved enough? Do I have enough money to last the rest of our lives? Well, with uncertainty still at all-time highs, even though the big beautiful bill passed, the stock market feels like it's about to maybe come down, and a world of surprises with the Middle East and the Russian crisis is lurking out there. Running out of money in retirement, well, it's a concern. And so how do you avoid running out of money in retirement? Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a copy of our checklist today. If you want that right now, call 866-PROTECT. We'll shoot you over a copy of the checklist right now, 866-PROTECT. I have created a show for you today on this day of freedom, this weekend of freedom, and we will go into that as we talk about it. It's easy. But all you have to do is just stick around. Now, what's going to be one of your largest expenses when it comes to living a free retirement? We'll find out when I come back. You are listening to the Protect Your Assets show. This is David Hollander, the Sandman. We'll be right back.
Take the first step toward reaching your financial goals and get the information that can help you live a confident retirement. That first step is going to PYAevents.com and signing up for our next free event. That's PYAevents.com. Now, back to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, the Sandman.
Welcome back. I'm David Hollander, also known as the Sandman, and you are listening this morning to Protect Your Assets, and it is the 4th of July weekend, and we're celebrating freedom. Your freedom to retire when you want to, but in order to retire when you want to, you'll need to know some things you may not know, like what could be the biggest expense in retirement? Well, that's a good question, and according to Fidelity, a healthy 65-year-old couple retiring today was projected to need, get this, about $315,000 for lifetime health care premiums alone. And this number doesn't account for the cost of long-term care. So as you think about retiring and, of course, that magic age of 65, you really do need to consider Medicare and other options for your health care. You see, when you get close to age 65, I really would recommend you spend some time reviewing and considering all your Medicare options. When you do become eligible at age 65, you'll want to remember to sign up during the 7-month initial enrollment period. Now, this begins 3 months before the month you turn 65. There's a lot to learn about the world of Medicare, and I'm certainly not going to cover it this morning, but you're always welcome to go listen to our podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, just type in Protect Your Assets and then Medicare, and you'll find an entire Medicare show that we've written on this subject. So today we'll just highlight some of the things from that show. You'll need to know about Medicare, and there are several parts that you want to study. First is the Part A, then Part B, and Part D. And then along with that, you're going to have a choice between a Medicare Advantage plan and what's called Medigap supplemental insurance. Briefly, Part A covers hospital costs after you meet a deductible. Part B is the optional coverage for medical expenses and requires you to pay annual premiums. And if you didn't get Part B when you first became eligible, your monthly premium may go up 10% for each 12-month period you could have had Part B but didn't sign up. So that's why it's really important you sign up at your 65th birthday or close to that if you've missed it. In most cases, you're going to have to pay a penalty each time you pay your premium for as long as you have Part B. In addition, the penalty increases the longer you go without Part B coverage. Part D is specifically for prescription drug coverage. Now, Medicare Advantage plans are all-in-one managed care plans that provide the services covered under Part A and Part B of Medicare, and may also cover other services that are not covered under Parts A and B, including that Part D prescription drug coverage. So Medicare Advantage plans may be something you want to take a look at. Supplemental policies, on the other hand, refer to as Medigap policies. So when you look at the Advantage plans, also compare those against these Medigap policies. It's sort of one or the other. These are typically offered by a private insurance company, so you may be familiar with, say, like a Blue Cross. That's a good example of typically these supplemental policies. These supplement expenses that Medicare Part A and B don't typically cover, and they negotiate rates for you. So here's a tip. If you're thinking about this right now, you may be better off paying a higher premium but not having to pay out of pocket at your office visits. You want to look at the cost of annual premiums and copays at different levels of the supplemental insurance, and then compare those costs. Factor in the number of visits and copay coinsurance you're going to pay per visit that you would expect for this coming up year. Once you select the Medicare plan that's best for you, realize this: it's not forever. I have clients who frequently switch Medicare plans as they age and as their situations change. Generally, it makes sense to enroll in Medicare Part A, B, and D when you are first eligible, because the late enrollment penalties, I was talking about just a minute ago, for doing so later are pretty steep. For example, you may owe a late enrollment penalty if you go without Part D or other credible prescription drug coverage for any period of 63 days or more in a row after your initial enrollment period. Turning 65 and still gainfully employed, well, or your partner or your spouses, if you're still working when you're 65 and you get health insurance through your employer or your spouse's employer, you'll have the opportunity to enroll in Medicare when you leave your employer's plan through a special enrollment period. In addition to Medicare options to consider, if your spouse or partner continues to work, they may be able to cover you through their health plan. Talk to your HR department to help you evaluate all your options, costs, and any restrictions. The rules of Medicare are complicated, and as you've seen with the big, beautiful bill, things are changing. So to get started, you maybe want to ask some of these questions. Maybe write some of these down and see what your benefits coordinator says. Which plan offers you and your spouse the best coverage for your health needs? Your employer is required to offer you coverage, but is that your best option? Is it more expensive to stay in your employer's plan, or is it better off to join Medicare? Can your spouse or partner remain in your employer's plan if you decide to leave? These are all open questions. A tip is, remember this, one of the key goals at this stage is to avoid gaps in coverage. Last thing you want to do is quit your job and next thing you know you don't have any insurance. That's not good, so be careful about that. Healthcare in retirement, well, these costs can be steep as you plan for healthcare expenses throughout your retirement, however long that might be. Understand how paying for future healthcare expenses fit into your overall retirement income plan, because healthcare tends to increase as we age. Although healthcare costs continue to go up across the board, there are some financial planning steps that you can take right now to help prevent healthcare costs from eating into your retirement lifestyle. For example, if, say, you're 50 or older, you may be able to make up for a savings shortfall with additional catch-up contributions to your 401k or IRA. In addition, if you are 55 or older, you can add an additional $1,000 catch-up contribution annually to your health savings account or HSA. If you're not utilizing an HSA right now, I would encourage you to do that. HSAs are a great way to not only put money away, and you can put away up to $8,500 if you're a couple. That money can then be invested, and I don't encourage you to use that for healthcare right now. I would invest that in a broad index, ETF index, let that grow over time, and then maybe 15, 20 years from now, when you need that for, say, your healthcare or long-term care bills, you've had something that's growing in a tax-free environment that then you can withdraw money out of and use that money for your healthcare needs. This is another way to do something Roth-esque, if you will, where it grows tax-free and can be used tax-free and can, over time, grow to a nice level where you'll have that extra cushion to help you meet some of these expenses that maybe you have no idea what are coming. So you can do that for you and your spouse, and that's another way to grow a bucket of money for health care that perhaps you did not know you had access to. Do you want to retire? Well, if you've thought about it, maybe you're thinking about it today, you'd like to see if you could retire. It's always the question. The best way to figure this out is to get a hold of our retirement survey. This is a questionnaire, very short, asks a bunch of questions that get you educated on the things you need to know before you actually retire. And so I'm going to go ahead and give you a copy of that today. We can email that to you in a PDF. All you have to do is pick up the phone right now and give us a call. The number is 866-PROTECT. Again, if you're dialing that, it's 866-776-8328. That's our number, 866-PROTECT. Go ahead and give us a call right now, and we will shoot you that retirement checklist. Absolutely complimentary, because you're listening this morning. I want to help you get free from work, Get the retirement checklist. Call the number 866-776-8328. Our team's sitting there right now. Phil, Zach, Dylan, they're sitting there ready to send this to you. Go ahead and call them, and they will shoot that over to you right away. They'll just need your email address. 866-PROTECT. Coming up next, it is time for our popular They Say segment, where they say long-term care is only 2.5 years. Well, find out what the reality really is right now when it comes to such an important subject. If you want to know more about that and how that can eat into your retirement and what you should do today to get ready for it, you certainly are tuned into the right place. You're listening to the Protect Your Assets show with David Hollander. That's me. We'll be right back.
Take the first step toward reaching your financial goals and get the information that can help you live a confident retirement. That first step is going to PYAevents.com and signing up for our next free event. That's PYAevents.com. Now back to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, the Sandman.
Welcome back. I am David Hollander, also known as the Sandman, and you are listening this morning to Protect Your Assets, and it is the 4th of July weekend. I hope you had a great 4th yesterday, and today we're celebrating freedom, your freedom to retire when and how you want to. But in order to do that, there's some things you need to know. And so if you missed any of the show so far today, like where the market's going to be going here in the next 6 months, what is one of the biggest expenses you're going to have when you decide to retire? Well, we covered both of those in the past 2 segments, and you can go pick those up or listen to them anytime you want. Wherever you get your podcast, just type in Protect Your Assets and then Financial Freedom or 4th of July, and you'll listen to this show. Like I was covering the last segment, if you want to know more about Medicare, Medicare is undergoing changes, as you know, with the big beautiful bill. There's all sorts of things in there, and you're going to need to know what they say and how they work. And so we started to talk about some of the basics of Medicare, but we have a whole Medicare show out there for you that you can listen to again on the podcast. You just type in Protect Your Assets and Medicare, and you'll pull up the Medicare show. Now it's time for one of our fan favorite parts of the show. This is our They Say segment, where we debunk common myths, half-truths, and sometimes just bad advice, they say.
Who are they? What do they know that I don't? And what are they saying this week? Here's David Hollander, the Sandman's answer.
All I know is that I don't know.
All right, so here's one they say. In fact, I've heard this numerous times. They say that the average long-term care stay is 2.5 years. Is that true? Well, yeah, maybe. Are you speaking about men or women? And this is where this is interesting. Most people think that overall women have longer claims than men. But when you're looking at the longest claims, I went and pulled this off this AALTCI index. Listen to this. These are reports made by insurance companies about claims on long-term care insurance. And guess what? Men have the longest claim, according to this. The longest claim, male claim out there, according to the survey, was 19 years and 3 months. You heard me right. Can you imagine being on long-term care for 19 years and 3 months? That was the longest claim for men. The longest claim for women, again, under the same index, was 15 years and 6 months. So, wow, it's never what you think it is it? So long-term care is a very complex and detailed problem that typically one couple could experience if you're a couple and you're at least 65 years or older, and that's the statistic. Now, what are some of the costs of this? This is something coming straight from Genworth. There's a great website out there when it comes to long-term care that if you'd like to learn more about it, I'd suggest you take a look. It's genworth.com. They have all sorts of information. They study this stuff all the time. And according to the Genworth Cost of Care Survey, The median cost right now range from approximately $48,000 to $100,380 per year for long-term care, depending, of course, on the type of care you need. And that gets into, well, what are the types of care and how do you pay for it? And what I have for you today is something that I hope will help quite a bit. I have my book. I wrote a book called Protect Your Assets. You can certainly get a copy of this on Amazon if you, like me, and you like the physical paper and you like to write in the notes and margins and highlight stuff, then of course get the book. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shoot you out today. This is chapter 7 of my book. The title of this is The Burden of Rising Healthcare Costs. We have this in a PDF, and I'm happy to go ahead and send it to you. And you'll see in this book, I've got what's called the 5 ways to pay for care. This is my own creation. I've come up with this idea. I've been talking about this for years. There are 5 ways to pay for care, and I get into a lot of detail about that here in the book, and I've done another radio show on this you can go listen to on long-term care, again, under Protect Your Assets. But let's just cover the highlights today. The 5 ways to pay for care. The first, of course, we were just talking about Medicare and Medicare supplements. Yes, Medicare and Medicare supplements will cover some or the beginning part of long-term care, but once you typically go past 100 days of needing something, it's no longer considered a Medicare issue, and then it switches over to what's called long-term care, where you're basically going to have to figure out how to pay for that without the Medicare picking up all the tab. And so that's where we get into the first option, which many people fall into. This is called private pay. This is where you use your own personal savings, like your 401k or any sort of accounts you've set up. You literally just start writing checks, and many families start to experience that, where they're writing $10,000 to $15,000, $20,000 a month checks that just continue on. And this, certainly if you're a married couple and you're starting to do that, you start to worry, how long is that going to last? And what am I going to do? You know, what are my options? Not only do you have to consider where care will be, but also how do you pay for it? And in my book, I've got all the types of care that are out there. You have long-term care facilities, you have skilled nursing homes, you have board and care, you have adult daycare, you have home care. There's many options and choices that you have, and the more educated you become about what those are and how they look, the bigger the surprise and the bigger shock it'll be when you have to possibly do that for one of you. It's very likely. And then if it's a parent and you're dealing with a parent, you know, you're the kids and you're looking at something like that for your parents, or you're worried about it, certainly get in front of it by understanding what your options are and how those work. And earlier I was talking about the HSA account, and that's another vehicle that you can use to grow money over time, particularly if you have that kind of time right now. To stick that money away annually and invest it and let it grow over time, and use that for long-term care as a way to private pay for that care in the future. Another option, which obviously goes overlooked all the time, is the Veteran Administration. The VA has benefits and cash for long-term care. And this is, again, something you have to qualify for and get, but you or your folks may be eligible for this. Certainly if there's a spouse who was served in any of the wars that we've had over the years and meet certain criteria, they could become eligible for tax-free. These are tax-free dollars that can be paid to the veteran or the veteran's spouse to pay for things like long-term care. So don't forget about that option. That is something that's out there and could be very beneficial. Another option, which again is a whole subject in itself, and again I've done a show on this, if you're going to consider this or go down this road, then you definitely want to find out what's available today. Things have changed a lot when it comes to long-term care insurance. This is LTCI, they call it, in the industry, and there are many different ways to do it. And so, you know, I would encourage you to think about learning what it is. Again, here in Chapter 7 in my book on page 88, I get into this option for long-term care insurance. I try to explain some of it to you, what some of the language is in it, because it's a foreign language, and how it works. And so I would get a copy of this and read it, and then start to just ask the questions of the different insurance companies and how it might fit into your situation. One of the benefits that we look at today is premium-based, where you just write a certain amount of money once and then you're done. And that money can begin when you need care at home, say, and it pays an amount of money that could be never ending, meaning until you die. You can get the types of policies that have coverage, particularly if you're worried about an Alzheimer's or dementia. I mentioned the statistic of a man going for 19 years. I mean, imagine if you had to pay for care for anything above 2.5 years. It went 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12 years. That's a long time at $15,000 to $20,000 a month. And in fact, if you look at some of the estimates on that website we were talking about, the Genworth website, and the cost of care in the future for men, if you're looking out about 2.5 years from now, the average cost is about $200,000. If you're looking out, say, 4 years from now for women, that becomes, again, $203,000, $364,000. How much would you need out at that point in time? Again, if you're going to go the distance here, could be $750,000. If you're looking out 20 years from now, I mean, it could be another $1.2, $1.3 million. These are just extra dollars you could need for care if you haven't done it correctly. So that's where long-term care insurance could really be that savior for you and pick up that catastrophic care if it became something that was necessary for you and your family. If you're going it alone or you're using your own savings, just consider those kind of numbers and what that might do overall to your financial health if you ran into a problem. So you may not want to go that risk. You may want to look at insurance as a way to cover that liability, cover that unknown. And insurance is a great way to do that because you're using the cost of many to pay for something that could come to you. And then if you don't need it, these premium-based policies I'm talking about have a death benefit. So if you end up not using it, all of it or any of it, it can pay a death benefit to your spouse or to your family, so you didn't lose that money. So again, take a look at that sort of thing if you're in the market or thinking about that expense. The last one, which has just undergone a major change through the Big Beautiful Bill. A lot of attorneys in my area who specialize in Medicaid law in California is called Medi-Cal. This is undergoing a dramatic change right now through the Big Beautiful Bill. A lot of changes coming there. So Medicaid is another way that was for years used to pay for long-term care in California. That is going to undergo another change once again. Again, these things are going to be shifting and changing, and so it's important to understand how that works and how your estate planning paperwork, your legal paperwork relates to long-term care when you need it. And if you haven't had your power of attorney or your trust looked at for some time, well, that's what we do. We are attorneys. We specialize in that area. We see things all the time. We see a lot of stories, a lot of things happening all the time. And so we are able to have an understanding of what you're facing and what you're looking at and help you deal with that before it gets to be too bad. So again, if you need some help with that, please give us a call, 866-PROTECT. And now that Social Security is getting much harder to get information about. I mean, I don't know if you've tried to call them lately, but the phone line is forever. And of course, all the offices you used to be able to go to are closed. So the best way to do that is to call us. If you want to get in front of this right now, we're going to go ahead and help you with that today. Call this number, 866-PROTECT. The number right now, it's 866-776-8328. We're sitting here right now on a Saturday, wanting to help you get more of your government Social Security right now. Call us, 866-PROTECT. Again, that's 866-776-8328. Call now. Coming up next, how do you increase your chances to 96% or better in retirement? Find out when I come back. You're listening to Protect Your Assets show with David Hollander. That's me. We'll be right back.
If you missed any of Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, all you have to do is go to PYARadio.com, where you can download or listen to our latest shows for free. Just go to PYARadio.com on your computer or mobile device when it's most convenient for you. That's PYARadio.com. Now, back to Protect Your Assets with David Hollander, the Sandman.
Welcome back. I am David Hollander, also known as the Sandman, and you are listening to Protect Your Assets this morning, and it is the 4th of July weekend, and we're celebrating freedom this weekend. Your freedom to retire when you want to, but in order to retire, you certainly need to get prepared and know what's coming your way. So this entire morning, we've been covering some of the biggest expenses that could face you as you enter into your retirement. And these are just things we've learned over the years from others who have stepped off that board into the future and into their new roles. And today we've been going through the things you should consider so you can retire when and how you want to. But one of the biggest things you can do is look at the investments and how you allocate those as you go into retirement. Because if you think about it, you've been growing your money all these years while you've been working, but you're going to be switching over to something that's going to be more income-based. You're going to need to produce income each and every month, no matter what the market's doing. And so start to think about your money in terms of not only growth, but you want to add into that income, and you also want to add into that safety. So what are some of the things you should take a look at? Well, some of the things that we look at for retirement are dividend-paying stocks. We like to build what we call bond ladders. And do you have life insurance? Well, if you do, life insurance has the ability to become tax-free in terms of income when you retire, so you can turn that asset that was designed to cover your mortgage or your spouse, if something were to happen to you, you might be able to convert that into a tax-free income source for the rest of your retirement. So look at something like that. Also, annuities. Annuities have these guaranteed income benefits that are backed by the claims-paying ability of that insurance company. Right now, rates are at all-time highs. This is a great time to lock in your own pension, create your own pension for life for an income that you can outlive. Mutual funds, ETFs, these are all great ways to diversify your portfolio, but again, you don't want to be too growth oriented. It might get into trouble later on. Also earlier I was talking about long-term care insurance and those asset-based long-term care policies. We call those ABLTCs. If you missed the last segment, you're going to want to dig into that and find out a little bit more about that, and then consider working with an independent representative is somebody who's captive with one company that only represents one aspect of a very complex and multifaceted environment that continues to expand. So try and find someone who's independent and try and work with someone who's a fiduciary instead of a registered rep. There is a difference. Fiduciaries have the responsibility of putting their clients' interests first. So all of those things should help you increase your chances of getting a better result when it comes to retirement, but all these things take some effort, take some energy, and you need to take the first step and do something about it. So let's do that now, shall we? Why don't we inhale through our nose, exhale through our mouth, and picture a day when you don't have to go back to work ever again. Whew. Picture a day when you're standing on the aft deck of a large, well, not too large, luxury liner, and you're looking at the magnificent Hubbard Glacier up in Alaska, and that azul glacier-covered water. It's the most beautiful blue you've ever seen, and all of a sudden you see whales breaching, and you just heard your first glacial cave where a big chunk has fallen off, and it sounds like electricity and lightning falling, and then your daughter grabs you and thanks you for making this happen. How exciting. Picture a day when you can relax, travel, and do all the things you've always wanted to do. If you're like Mark, thanks Mark for suggesting this show topic today. Really appreciate it. Mark's going to be out there doing all the things he's wanted to do with his spouse in September. Congratulations, Mark. It all starts with picking up your phone and calling us right now, calling our team, 866-PROTECT. We are here to help you protect what's yours and get much more out of what's there right now when it comes to this new big, beautiful bill. You're going to want to get in front of that right now. 866-PROTECT, the number to call to get your checklist, which will get you started on all this right now. 866-776-8328. 866-PROTECT. Pick up the phone. What are you waiting for? Grab that freedom right now. It's been a beautiful 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys have a great, safe time out there. I'd like to give a big thanks to the Protect Your Assets team for putting together a great show today. My executive producer, network manager, Kevin Renfer, and, of course, all my fabulous producers back there, Raph, Phil, Lucas, Dylan. Thanks, guys, for doing all the work this morning, because without my team, I'm just another pretty voice on the radio. You have been listening to the Protect Your Assets show. I am David Hollander, the Sandman. Go out and make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Investment advisory services are offered through Liberty Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. The strategies mentioned are not suitable for everyone. The information expressed does not consider your specific situation or objectives and may not be appropriate for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. To better understand the risk associated with investing and how it reacts to different market conditions, listeners should always consult with their qualified investment professionals, financial advisors, legal or tax specialists, and conduct their due diligence before making any financial decisions or taking any action. The legal information provided on the air is not intended to substitute for callers hiring their lawyers to advise them about personal legal matters. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Liberty Group LLC paid for the following program, and the host's views and opinions do not represent those of the station or its ownership. California Life Agent number 048569. Persons engaging the services of one affiliate of Liberty Group LLC companies should be aware that each company is operated separately. You're listening to the Protect Your Assets Radio Network.